You're listening to the Story By podcast. This show features short fiction with two things in common. First, I wanted to share them. Second, the rights to option or produce them for other media are available. My name is Lewayne L. White. I'll be the host and narrator. Hi there, welcome back to the Story By podcast. After a month of Halloween stories, I opted to do something a little lighter. Stickshift Meets His Match was originally published in the online speculative fiction magazine Bewildering Stories, and I'll have a link to the issue in the show notes. I can't say exactly what the inspiration for this story was, but I'm an unashamed science fiction TV dork, and I probably wanted to do something different, which usually means goofy. So without any further ado, I'll introduce you to local loser Stickshift and his single claim to fame. Stickshift Meets His Match by Lewayne L. White. Jimmy Stickshift Kinison would be the first to tell you that he was the champion atomic chili eater at Marlene's Good Eats. He'd knocked Floyd Fallon from the top spot by eating 11 bowls full. Floyd's record was 10. Then eating 4 more to make it 15. Cable Food Channel's Brick Benson, host of Champion Chow, even interviewed Stickshift when the cable food show taped an episode about Marlene's. "You already beat the champion. Why not just quit at 11? Stickshift dug at his teeth with a toothpick, then said, "Well, I reckon I wanted to make sure no one in the world could beat my record." And in 3 years, no one could. Then the skinny guy from out of town showed up. Things were quiet in Marlene's. The breakfast rush was over and lunch was a ways off. A few regulars sat around nursing their coffee, and a pair of visiting newlyweds dilly-dallied, trying to decide if they were going to actually look around town or just go back to the motel room again. Go-Go, the busboy, pushed his cart along, collecting the breakfast dishes and the tip money. As he moved down the length of the counter, he hummed the theme from Quantum Leap. When he reached the end and looped back around to do the booths along the opposite wall, he switched to Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. As he weaved through the tables between the booth and counter, he whistled the theme from the X-Files. Go-Go wasn't very sharp, but he knew his sci-fi theme songs. Stickshift, running low on funds and 3 days away from his next unemployment check, sat at the counter doodling in a pocket notebook. The battered spiral book held scribbles, scrawls, and lists that Stickshift thought might bring him closer to his big, successful plan. As Go-Go passed him on the way back to the kitchen, Stickshift looked up. "Hey, Marlene, that doofus's song reminds me. You see that UFO last night round 10? Marlene, the diner's owner, operator, and queen waitress, scooped the tip money from Go-Go's cart. "Baby, we had a pack of people in here after the game. Nobody here saw nothing." Marlene pulled a couple rumpled bills from Go-Go's collection and stuck them in her pocket. "Split the rest of that between you, Chewy, and April." Go-Go, now humming the Outer Limits theme, nodded. "I mean evenly this time. Quit giving the other two extra. You work just as hard as they do." April Cochran, the other waitress on duty, said, "You ought to be giving the money back to these people. They're the ones got to eat Chewy's cooking." Chewy Gomez yelled from the kitchen, "Hey there, girlfriend, at least I can cook. Reason you out front's 'cause you burn water." April thumbed her nose at Chewy, then said, "Thanks, Go-Go," when the busboy handed her a wad of bills and change. Go-Go nodded, humming. "What's he humming now?" "It's from The Invaders," said a new voice. "A television series about aliens disguised as humans." Everyone turned to see the skinny man at the diner door. Go-Go looked up, nodded, then pushed his cart back into the kitchen. "A classic show," the skinny man added. "I'm surprised it isn't running on that sci-fi channel." Marlene gave the man her megawatt smile. "Welcome to Marlene's. Care for a cup of coffee while you browse the menu?" "I came for your magnificent atomic chili." Stickshift looked up from his notebook and saw the guy was about as big around as a broomstick. "No competition. Chili be ready in about half hour if you don't mind waiting." "I saw your chili featured on Champion Chow. I believe it is worth waiting for," the man said. "A bowl is $2, unlimited refills is $5. The guy nodded. "If I beat your current record holder, I pay nothing. Is that still correct?" Stickshift looked up again. Record's 15 bowls.
May I see one of the bowls, please?
Go, Marlene said. Bring the man a bowl, please. Go trotted out of the kitchen carrying a bowl about the size of a small saucepan.
Star Trek, Next Generation,
the man replied when Go handed him the bowl. Go nodded. The guy examined the bowl, appeared to make a few mental calculations, then said,
I will have no problem eating that much chili, and since I have no money, I have little choice but beat your champion.
Marlene blinked at the man, then said, And if you can't, how are you supposed to pay?
I will beat your champion,
he replied. Not cocky, just a statement of fact.
In truth, I will need to eat approximately 20 bowls.
And how are you supposed to pay if you don't? Marlene repeated. Not mad, just curious. Go, now humming Battlestar Galactica, reached into the pocket of his jeans, withdrew a wad of ones, and counted out 5. He set the money on the counter in front of Marlene. You sure? She asked Go. He nodded. Go's got you covered, Mr. What's your name? The man hesitated for a second, then said,
Roswell. Leonard Roswell.
Well, Mr. Roswell, your chili be ready soon, and we'll see how you do. He did well. Stickshift wasn't paying much attention until he heard April say, That's 10! She marked another chalk line on the board beside the Atomic Chili winner photo, which currently featured Stickshift Kinison. Hey, Marlene, Stickshift bellowed. Why don't you go ahead and pour me some bowls? Looks like I may have to defend my title. You got the cash if he knocks you out? Stickshift dug around in his jeans, then his coat, then upended a ratty sneaker and came up with almost $5. Marlene looked at the collection of change, then at Roswell. He had nearly finished the 11th bowl already, and literally hadn't broken a sweat. Not even Stickshift could eat the atomic chili without mopping his brow. Close enough, Marlene replied. April, get this man some chili. At this, the regulars, who'd only occasionally glanced at Roswell as he shoveled in chili, sensed a battle coming. Several men moved closer, taking seats at the counter. A few began placing bets, while others lined up at the payphone to call friends and relatives. Meanwhile, the newlyweds opted to head back to their motel room, rather than watch the locals try to out-eat each other. Best give me 5 bowls, April. I got some catching up to do. April snorted in a very unladylike way, then headed to the kitchen. She returned a moment later, plunked down a tray loaded with chili bowls. Eat up, Stick! Stickshift glanced sideways at Roswell, who had just licked his 11th bowl clean. With a deep breath, the atomic chili champ dug in. The gathering crowd murmured, and more money changed hands as more bets were placed. Go trotted around collecting empty bowls and humming Stargate SG-1, while April marked the board and retrieved more chili. Marlene just kept pouring coffee, taking orders, and watching money roll in. Stickshift was up to 10 bowls and felt ready to bust. He also realized that April had just made the 14th mark under Roswell's name. Roswell, who'd been a skinny little twerp when he'd come in, now looked like a lollipop halfway down the stick. His legs were still scrawny, but from his waist up he swelled like he'd eaten a beach ball, not bowls of chili. Better slow down there, boy, someone said to Roswell. You're gonna pop, make a huge mess on Marlene's shiny countertop. Roswell glanced at his wrist, which bore a very elaborate-looking watch.
I cannot slow down. I have a very specific window to fit through.
Son, said another regular, you'll be lucky if you can fit through the door.
I have only a few more bowls to go.
April placed another bowl in front of him. This'll make 15. You eat it, you'll be tied with Stick over there.
Bring me more, please, Roswell replied. This is excellent chili, Marlene.
Thank you, sugar. Geez, Marlene, between these two they can eat you into the poorhouse, one of the spectators said. Marlene glanced around at the diner. Every available seat was occupied. People had even brought their own folding chairs. Others just stood around, plate in one hand, fork in the other, eating pie and yapping about the lunatics eating chili. She'd already sent Go to the bank twice to make deposits and get more change. I'll be just fine, Marlene said with a smile. Stickshift wasn't sure if he would. He hadn't even made it to his own record yet, and he thought he was going to explode. Roswell, on the other hand, had just cleaned out his 15th bowl and asked April for another. He eats the next bowl, he's a champ, said the guy on the stool next to Stickshift. Better make your peace with that before he pukes, Stick. Give me more, Stickshift mumbled, afraid to open his mouth too far. April placed another bowl of chili in front of him, and he felt his stomach lurch. This isn't fair, Stickshift thought. Last time I trained, I was hungry. I was ready. He heard Roswell slurp another spoonful from his 16th bowl of chili. I'm the champ, Stickshift thought. Me! I was the one on TV and everything. I was famous. I was famous, Stickshift yelled, lunging for Roswell. Now I'm going to be nothing again. Roswell caught the man with one hand, holding him several inches from the floor. With his other hand, he spooned the last of the chili from the bowl.
"Excuse me, April. May I have another?"
Instead of the applause and the camera flashes that would have accompanied Roswell's new title of Atomic Chili Champ, there was only silence. Everyone stared, some open-mouthed, at the stranger holding Stickshift in the air with one scrawny arm, while casually asking for another bowl of chili. Roswell looked around, then shrugged.
"I still need more."
Then he shook Stickshift slightly up and down.
"Although, how much has he eaten?"
10 bowls, said April. Roswell smiled a very wide smile. Jimmy Stickshift Kinison's picture still hangs in Marlene's diner. It was the same picture they supplied to the police when Stickshift's P.O. came around after Stick missed a meeting. Stick's still the Atomic Chili Champion and has been for nearly 4 years now. He's practically famous. The last time anyone remembers seeing him was that second night of the UFO sightings. For some reason, no one recalls much else about that day, but those that saw it remember the UFO and the large explosion in the nearby woods that rocked Marlene's good eats. Those who managed to run out in time saw something big and smelly fly into the air. Witnesses lost sight of the object in a blazing overhead glow which swallowed it. Then the glow itself diminished into a small point of light that flew away at amazing speeds. UFO researchers dismiss the whole incident as an eruption of swamp gas in the woods. They argue that this accounts for both the explosion and the ghastly stench. A couple spending their honeymoon in town claimed that they saw a skinny guy challenge Stickshift to a chili-eating contest that day. Apparently, they think this created quite a stir, and might have something to do with the missing man. When asked by local reporters to corroborate the newlyweds' story, the diner's owner claimed to recall no such confrontation. "If there was fighting over my chili, I'd sure remember it, wouldn't I?" None of the other staff recalled any sort of chili challenge either. However, the only one who consented to make an actual statement was the busboy, who simply hummed the theme from The Twilight Zone. Yes, I did in fact write a story with an alien that eats a person and uses chili farts to launch his crashed ship into orbit. If that's not your thing, don't worry. I can guarantee you that next week's episode won't have anything like that. As always, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.